In a previous segment, we showed you that we like to stitch using a layer of wool batting in between our fabric and Texture Magic in order to get a totally different look from the texture. But you don't have to use wool batting. Heather and I prefer wool because it gives really puffy loftiness in the finished product. But it doesn't have to be wool batting. Try cotton. Cotton is what we used on this piece. This was one of the very first pieces that we did when we had the idea of trying a layer of batting, and cotton was what I happened to have on hand. As you can see, you get wonderful texture and it fills up these shapes. Had I used wool, they would have been filled up even more. But what I did on this one, you can see it a little easier on the back. I stitched around the main elements of the design. I stippled the background, and I just got wonderful texture in there. I also stitched using a metallic thread on the butterfly because I really wanted that butterfly to be the focal point of this piece when I was finished. And I did heavy stitching in here to make the background really recede. But by adding that batting, my pieces puff up even more. And the batting shrinks right along with the Texture Magic, so it works really well. On these two stockings, we tried some fabric texturized with just fabric and Texture Magic, and then we added a layer of batting into the cuff because we wanted the cuff to really show up. These are stockings that we made not for Christmas necessarily, but just as a little celebration type stocking. If you wanted to, for someone, give them a birthday celebration, you could make a stocking for then. But as you can see on this one, we stitched just fabric and Texture Magic using a serpentine stitch in a grid pattern. On this, the same grid pattern, but rather than the serpentine stitch, we stitched a straight stitch and added a layer of wool batting. So you can see you got a totally different effect just by adding that layer of batting and doing a straight stitch rather than a serpentine stitch. On this one, we did the serpentine stitch in a grid on the lower part, the diagonal strip in the stocking, but on the cuff, we did a diagonal line. So it's not gridded, it's just a line going one direction, but it has the batting added in, so you get a totally different effect than you got here with the straight stitch and the lines going both directions. These are a pattern called Festive Stockings, and they're fun to make for lots of occasions throughout the year. So those were stitched with wool batting, that was stitched with cotton. This particular sample was stitched with a polyester batting. A polyester batting can give you a similar puffy look to a wool batting if you use a really thick polyester. I tried one with about a 16-ounce poly, which would be used maybe for trapunto, and I got the same puffy look, but when I was done, my piece was really stiff. It didn't have the soft, pliable flexibility that it had when I used the wool batting. But this was stitched with a wavy line going kind of in a grid, so the wavy lines go this way and then that way, and that is the effect that you get. Again, another totally different look. So grab some batting, grab some Texture Magic, grab some fabric, try some different stitches and battings, and see what effects you can get.